episode, we speak about COVID-19's effects on the mental health of adults, specifically parents of children and adolescents who have had to deal with drastic changes and extraordinary challenges in their personal and professional lives, whilst helping their children make sense of the pandemic and its influence on their day-to-day life. While there are some adults who have been able to deal with the above situation effectively, there are some who have had either faltered towards themselves or their children in some way. To address these issues and suggest ways in which you as an adult can better cope with changes and challenges brought on by COVID-19 towards you and the children you care about, we have with us Mrs. Narita Sabharwal, who is a Government of India recognized RCI licensed clinical psychologist who practices independently in Mumbai and Delhi and is on the panel of psychologists at some of India's most renowned online healthcare service providers. Welcome to our final episode, Narita.
Thank you, Nikki. Before COVID-19, nobody could have imagined the kind of changes and challenges that could have been brought almost overnight by a pandemic. And if you can't imagine something, there's no way you can be prepared for it. Hence, it is safe to say that this pandemic took each one of us by surprise, and the magnitude of its influence brought with it a level of uncertainty that plagues our lives even today. While adults gradually learn how to cope up with this pandemic, children and adolescents took a while longer as their worldview was still in its formative years, and the pandemic came as a jolt which shook its foundation. In fact, even today, most children only know what the pandemic and safety measures are associated with it. Very few have been able to fully comprehend and cope up with it.
Absolutely. It has indeed been a difficult time for each one of us. In such a situation, what advice would you give to parents to help children cope up with their anxiety?
See, children pick up a lot from parents. Children pick up vibes. Children pick up what parents are feeling. Children pick up how parents are behaving. So first and foremost, parents should be calm. Parents should be able to calm themselves down, and parents should project calmness in front of the child, because child is picking up a lot from what the parents are saying or what the parents are doing or how the parents are behaving, right? Then the next part is obviously very important to listen to the child, because the child is going to have a lot of questions. The child is going to want to know what is going on. The child will want to understand how things are working, how things are going. So to be able to understand and answer that to the child is very important. The last bit is to offer reassurance to the child, because for a child the world starts with the parents, and if parents are somebody who keep you safe, parents are somebody who you're happy with, it's a safe place for you. So if they are offering you reassurance, that should really calm the child down. That should make the child feel very, very comfortable.
Sure, and what else can they do?
Explaining about the pandemic, about how things work, about social distancing, how to be safe during the pandemic, to wash your hands, to wear your mask, essentially everything that we are supposed to do in the pandemic, to explain to them in a detailed manner the safety measures, or what is happening globally in terms of how it's not just you or me who have to do it, it's the whole world that is doing it. Maybe for smaller children, take up a globe, go around the globe, show them all the countries on a globe, all the continents of the globe, and then probably correspond that with photographs on the internet where everybody is doing the same thing that you're supposed to do. And this is how people are keeping safe. So that gives the children the reassurance, calms the children down, and then also basically helps them understand the whole situation better, which helps them go with the situation better.
And how does one deal with questions that come to a child's mind about the pandemic?
Being very, very honest with the child is important, because with today's day and age where there's internet and there's so much information available on television, at the click of a button on the phone, they are going to get to know eventually. And if that trust is broken between communication, they are not going to be able to trust you or get that calm feeling from you that they are looking at. So taking time to talk to them and taking time of being very, very honest and accurate with them in terms of what is going on, and what they'll do is going to help them in the future.
But there's so much misinformation about the pandemic, so how does a parent ensure that the information you're sharing with the child doesn't make them inquisitive enough to do to go down the slippery spiral of misinformation?
See, Nikita, it's very, very same for an adult and a child to make sure that they're limiting their information intake, right? They are being able to limit the amount of information they're taking in from various sources, making sure they're relying on reliable sources, because otherwise it's just going to cause panic and anxiety. It always is like that. So if you're limiting information for yourself, if you're limiting where you're taking in information from, then you make sure you monitor the information intake for your child as well. Put on parental locks. Make sure that they are reading information, and if they want to know more about it, you're sitting with them on a reliable site like the WHO site. You're all sitting together, talking about it, making a healthy discussion out of it, and answering all the questions and making the child calm with the right kind of information, not relying on information that is coming in every day or from one friend or from another friend. Making sure to tell the child that information coming out from a friend is not the most reliable source, or information coming out from a snippet on WhatsApp or any social media is not the most reliable information. The most reliable information is what you're getting from the site that has been designated to take care of the COVID-19 information. So maybe limit that and make sure that you're relying that kind of information to your child.
And how can a parent manage and explain to children belonging to different age groups what is happening?
Information has to be given in a very age appropriate manner, in terms of if it's younger children, you only give them that much information in terms of cover your face, wash your hands, be careful, because that's their view. They are in the house, you are their parents, and that's all they have. As you grow up, as you go up the ladder of teenagers or adolescents, their biggest issue is probably not being able to go to school, or not being able to meet their friends, or not being able to go out for a movie. Try to explain to them how this pandemic, this COVID-19 spreads, through meeting people, through touching infected surfaces, or maybe touching somebody who's probably not washed their hands properly, or basically how it's spread. Talking about all the information in detail, and hence which is why they are not being allowed to go out to meet their friends, or why malls are shut, or why theaters are shut, or why restaurants are shut. When you have this kind of an interactive dialogue with children of that age, they'll understand the pandemic better. Coming to the third point, where you have children who are not teenagers anymore, where they're almost adults, that is when you sit and have a very honest conversation with them in terms of this is how, because at that age they are worried about you as parents too, and you're worried about them as almost young adults. So you have a healthy discussion as to what you're doing to take care of yourselves, and maybe taking a few cues of what they are doing to take care of themselves. And age-wise, this is probably how you can have conversations with your children.
Okay, and apart from that, how can you help your children?
See, again, it's pretty much the same for children, for teachers, for adults. It's very important where you're in a lockdown for 1.5 years almost, and you don't know what the future still holds, because the pandemic is not over, even though things are opening up. Daily routine, very important, because if you don't have a daily routine, then your whole mood will go for a toss, your whole structure that you're trying to make for the day is going to go for a toss. And making sure that the children are following a basic level of sleep hygiene, their normal hygiene, their lifestyle in terms of eating, even if they're getting exercise at home, that, and they are at least practicing a little bit of deep breathing, practicing mindfulness, talking to each other, keeping a happy and positive environment at home will always help the child feel better, feel more comfortable in a situation like this.
Fair enough, but how do you understand what the child is feeling?
You've been with the child for a while now. You know how the child is, you know if the child is alright or not. A day or two, moods have fluctuated in the pandemic, and it's fine to feel low. It's absolutely perfect to feel low on certain days and feel yourself on certain days. But when you see a pattern where your child is constantly feeling low, that is the time you make sure you bring up this conversation with the child. You try to talk to him and try to tell him that you're understanding him or her, that they're not doing well. Try to bring up the conversation as much as you can and try to get a reply. If the conversation is going well and you're thinking that the child is now coming and talking to you about it, great. If not, again, my advice is going to be seek professional help.
That was really insightful. What kind of symptoms can one look out for?
Very different kind of symptoms in different age groups. So younger children, they basically take in information in waves. So they will hear a few things, they will interpret it in a different manner, they will deal with it in a different manner. So again, it comes to addressing it age appropriately. Similarly, even symptoms are going to be age appropriate. Mostly the teenagers are going to want to back off or keep themselves in a shell. Mostly the adults are going to want to talk or again can go into a shell. So any behavior that is out of the ordinary for teenagers and young adults. But if a smaller child is more quiet, like the older ones, or if the smaller child has too many questions, or if the smaller child is not sleeping well, that's when you address these issues age appropriately again. But anything out of the ordinary for an extended period of time, you need to address.
That was extremely insightful, Mrs. Samarwal. I'm sure everyone watching the series has learned something that will enable them to better manage their mental health. I thank you for your time and hope to engage with you over some more meaningful topics pertaining to mental health in the future.
Thank you so much, Nikki.
Thank you for watching, guys. I hope you all are keeping safe and are duly vaccinated. We'll keep coming back with more insights on mental health. Stay tuned.